Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important live video update. Now, before we get into tonight's video, I want to do a very special shout out to the lovely lady that I met this week at Bunnings. I won't say which store or her name. I don't want to get her into any trouble, but she shared her fantastic story with me. She took a stand against the jab, and she left Bunnings and waited until all the mandates disappeared, and then she went back. She managed to travel overseas and did a whole lot of things. So it was fantastic to hear her story. I love bumping into people out in public who share, how some of these videos or how some of my messages were able to inspire and empower them, especially over the COVID era. So, please, if you do see me out and about, come and say hi, share your story with me, and a very special shout out to that lady. All right, so we've got a lot to cover tonight, so let's get straight into it. First up, as we mentioned on Tuesday night's radio show, the big news of this week has, of course, been King Charles' cancer diagnosis. Now, we spoke on Tuesday night's show about how unprecedented it was for the palace to be formally announcing any details about the King's health issues. And of course, if you do want to know any more about that, please do make sure that you listen to the podcast that has been uploaded now. It was a really, really big show. We also spoke about the lack of legal standing of the various police forces in Australia, as well as the legislative conflicts between the states. So it was a very important show if anyone missed it. Now, in any event, since everybody is, of course, talking about the King this week, I figured this was a perfect time to remind everyone about the vitally important distinction between the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, which of course is what King Charles is, as opposed to this pretended or fictitious or adopted, whatever you want to call it, title of the King of Australia. Now, that of course is a title that has no legal force or effect in this country. Now, I've obviously spoken extensively in the past about the adopted title of the Queen of Australia, and that title of course was created by the Royal Styles and Titles Act of 1973 for the Queen, which of course at that time was Queen Elizabeth II, for her to use within Australia and its territories. Now, the current issue that we have here right now is that there is no Royal Styles and Titles Act of 2022 when the Queen passed away, or even 2023, or even any equivalent legislation that formally and officially and lawfully created the title of the King of Australia for King Charles to adopt and use within Australia and its territories. Therefore, any reference to this King of Australia can only be the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, as it is, of course, supposed to be pursuant to the Commonwealth Constitution. Now, the issue with that, though, is, of course, the High Court ruled in the matter of Sue versus Hill that the Queen of the United Kingdom was a foreign power in Australia, and therefore the King must be as well. How on earth can we be lawfully operating under a foreign power? Now, it gets even worse, okay, because all of the courts here in Australia at the moment all operate under this claimed power and authority of this King of Australia, which doesn't legally exist. So as you can clearly see, our current so-called justice system is a huge, huge mess in this country. Now, we often get trolls who, post comments and stuff on these videos, suggesting, but this has all been tried in the courts before and it's all failed. But the fact is that this specific issue about there being no official act to create at law the title of the King of Australia has never been tried in the courts at all, because the Queen only passed away in September 2022, so it hasn't come up yet. So if anyone out there can be bothered, by all means, feel free to pass this on to any lawyers that you might know out there, or so-called constitutional experts or anyone else, and just ask them this simple question: how can the courts within Australia or the parliaments within Australia for that matter, lawfully operate under this claimed authority of the King of Australia when that entity simply does not exist at law in Australia at the present time? It's a very simple question. Now, of course, if the powers that be, turned around and enacted some legislation to formally create this title of the King of Australia, then of course that's all the evidence that anybody needs to prove that up until that time, they've been operating unlawfully and without power. Okay, because if they weren't, why would they need to all of a sudden create that act? Okay, you see they're in a no-win situation here, which is really, really good for all of you watching this video. So please, if you do not fully understand this vitally important principle, okay, or of course the importance of everything being traceable back to the true monarch as defined in the Commonwealth Constitution, please make sure you grab our book, okay, the essential step-by-step manual for understanding and exercising your rights, and make sure you go straight to chapter 4 and read up on the Commonwealth Constitution. It is all very clearly explained there, and as you can see, hopefully from what I've just explained, this is a massive, massive issue in this country, and this affects everything within our current legal system and indeed our parliamentary system as well. All right, so moving on, another topic that we've spoken about many, many times before, and one that people keep emailing us about each and every week, is of course the ongoing issue with this push for the director ID. Now, I just want to remind everyone out there that we've already done a number of really detailed video updates on that topic. We've also got a number of very simple letters that we've already drafted up that people can send off to the ABRS, the Australian Business Registry Services, in regards to these claimed obligations that they say everyone has. You'll find those at the very bottom of our fines page. So if you just go to Know Your Rights Group website, click on the Fines tab, scroll all the way to the bottom. There should be a link going up in the description, and you'll find all of those letters there, along with a couple of links to some of those videos explaining how to use them. Now, in addition to those letters, we've also gone into great detail on some of our recent radio shows to explain why the Corporations Act is actually invalid, and we've even referenced the High Court case that confirms that. Okay, so please, if you've missed any of those important radio shows, again, do be sure to listen to the podcast. And again, you'll find those on our website. So here, of course, is the point. If the Corporations Act is invalid, then quite obviously all of these claims about any, obligations, any threats, any demands about, director ID obligations, all those things, okay, are also invalid at law because, of course, they all rely on the Corporations Act as their authority for sending those letters with all of those threats. So please keep standing your ground. Now, should you need any more evidence as to why it is so important to keep standing your ground, I'm going to very quickly share with you a letter that one of our members, who unfortunately actually signed up for the director ID before they found out about our group and how to challenge it. Once, of course, they understood, why all of those, threats and so-called obligations were all unlawful, they actually tried to cancel their director ID. And this is the very interesting response that they received. So here's the letter there. And as you can see, clearly says director ID request to cancel. And it says, "Dear such and such, we've received your request for cancellation of your director ID. Please note a director ID is unable to be cancelled by a client. If you're issued with a director ID and don't use it within 12 months of applying, the director ID will be cancelled. If you apply again in the future, though, you'll be issued with the same number. Other than that, there is not a way for you to cancel your director ID. The same director ID is associated with the person forever, even if they are no longer a director." Okay, so there it is in black and white, or in this case, blue and white. This is why you do not want to apply for a director ID, okay? Because that director ID is linked to you forever, and they always have your private personal information up online somewhere on some server where it can be attacked, where it can be hacked, where it can be leaked, okay? It cannot be cancelled by you once it's been issued to you. So please make sure you keep that in mind. And please, if you know anyone who is still standing their ground against the director ID, and maybe they're wavering and thinking, oh no, I keep getting these really threatening letters from the ABRS, maybe I should just do it. Okay, then please pass this video on to them to ensure that they do keep standing their ground against, of course, these lawless threats. Now, as I've explained numerous times before, the director ID is really just the trial run or the test run for the digital ID, and that, of course, is what the powers that be need the majority of people to sign up to before they can fully implement this cashless society, which, of course, they've been pushing so hard towards, and I've spoken about countless times, especially over the last 12 months. Again, we've got lots of videos on it. I'm not going to cover it again tonight. All right, so while we're on the topic of digital technologies, one of the other topics that's been spoken about more and more nowadays is, of course, this concept of AI, or artificial intelligence. Now, I find this quite fascinating because natural intelligence seems to be severely lacking in a lot of people, and we've seen that certainly play out over the past few years. So maybe artificial intelligence might help them in some way. But unfortunately, the issue is, as tends to be the case with any new technology, firstly, the military get hold of it and they use it, and then the next group of people to utilize it is usually the criminals, and this appears to be happening again in regards to the realm of AI as well. Now, it turns out now that some of these new AI scams that are being run at the moment are very, very sophisticated, and one of our long-standing members actually sent us through a really important article which provides a very simple solution to help protect you and your family from these high-tech scams. So I urge everybody out there to please make sure you go and look up this article and read it, because this we're going to be hearing more and more about as time goes by. It's going to be becoming more and more prevalent. So the article is entitled, "Worried About AI Voice Clone Scams? Create a Family Password." Imagine this. Your grandfather receives a call late at night from a person pretending to be you. The caller says that you are in jail or have been kidnapped and they need money urgently to get you out of trouble. Perhaps they then bring on a fake police officer or kidnapper to heighten the tension. The money, of course, should be wired right away to an unfamiliar account at an unfamiliar bank. It's a classic and common scam, and like many scams, it relies on a scary, urgent scenario to override the victim's common sense and make them more likely to send money. Now, scammers are reportedly experimenting with a way to further heighten that panic by playing a simulated recording of your actual voice. Fortunately, there's an easy and old school trick you can use to preempt the scammers: creating a shared verbal password with your family. The ability to create audio deepfakes of people's voices using machine learning and just a few minutes of them speaking has become relatively cheap and easy to acquire technology. There are myriad websites that will let you make voice clones. Some will let you use a variety of celebrity voices to say anything they want, while others will let you upload a new person's voice to create a voice clone of anyone you have a recording of. Scammers have figured out that they can use this to clone the voices of regular people. Suddenly, your relative isn't talking to someone who sounds like a complete stranger. They are hearing your own voice. This, of course, makes the scam much more concerning. The family password is a decades-old low-tech solution to this modern high-tech problem. The first step, of course, is to agree with your family on a password that you can all remember and use. The most important thing is that it should be easy to remember in a panic, hard to forget, and not, of course, public information. You could use the name of a well-known person or object in your family, an inside joke, a family meme, or any word that you can all remember easily. Despite the name, this doesn't need to be limited to your family. It can be a chosen family, workplace, anarchist witch coven, etc. Any group of people with which you associate can benefit from having a password. Then when someone calls you or someone that trusts you or emails or texts you with an urgent request for money or iTunes gift card, you simply ask them the password. If they can't tell it to you, then it might be a fake. You could, of course, further verify this with other questions like, what's my cat's name, or when was the last time we saw each other? These sort of questions work even if you haven't previously set up a passphrase in your family or friend group. But keep in mind, people tend to forget basic things when they've experienced trauma or are in a panic. It might be helpful, especially for people with less robust memories, to write down the password in case you forget it. After all, it's not likely that the scammer will break into your house to find the family password. The added benefit of this technique is that it gives you a minute to step back, breathe, and engage in some critical thinking. Many scams of this nature rely on panic and keeping you in your lower brain. By asking for the passphrase, you can take a minute to think. Is your kid really in Mexico right now? Can you call them back at their phone number to be sure that it's them? And things like that. So a very powerful article. Again, I urge you all to go and look that up. And of course, I would obviously urge everyone to speak to their family members or passphrase, something like that, just in case a family member is targeted by one of these scams. And of course, please ensure that you share that article or indeed this entire video around as far and as wide as you possibly can on as many different social media platforms and groups that you can, so people can learn this very important information before it really starts impacting people. Now, speaking of AI scams, I spoke on a recent video update about the number of new issues coming to light with the use of these artificial intelligence cameras to detect people supposedly using their mobile phones and things of that ilk, and why, of course, you should challenge any unjust and unlawful computer-generated fines. Well, here is yet another example of when these automated cameras got it wrong once again. So again, if you know anyone who blindly believes these cameras, the camera doesn't lie, make sure you look up this article or refer them to it. This one is entitled "Pensioner Busted for Using a Mobile Phone While Driving Despite Never Owning One." A pensioner who was fined for using a mobile phone while driving claims he's never even used or owned one. Frank Singh, 77, told A Current Affair he was gobsmacked when he received a $362 fine from Revenue New South Wales that accused him of the traffic offence. "It looks like I'm guilty on it, but I'm not. I don't own one. I don't use one," Frank told the program in reference to images taken by a mobile phone detection camera on the Pacific motorway, which shows him holding something in his left hand. "I thought, what in the bloody hell is this all about? I've never owned a mobile phone. I've never used a mobile phone. I thought, what a load of you know what." According to Frank, he doesn't recall what he was holding in the pictures provided as evidence by Revenue New South Wales, but he insists it is not a phone. "I think it could be my wallet," he said. Friend Kishori Breeze took a number and an email to lodge an appeal. "I thought it would be quite an easy process to get it dropped," Breeze said. "You've got a fine for using a mobile phone while driving, but you don't have a mobile phone. Let's just nip down to the office and get it fixed." But, to their astonishment, the review was rejected. He received a letter to say, "Yeah, we understand that you say you don't have a phone, but please go ahead and pay the fine anyway." No surprises there. When Frank tried to say, "I don't have a mobile phone and I've never," the Byron Bay magistrate butted in and said, "But you do own a mobile phone." Lawyer Richard Mitri said the typical attitude of innocence until proven guilty wasn't always applied when it comes to traffic offences. Why not? This is a fundamental principle of law. Where does the Parliament of any state get the power and authority to override that important legal principle of innocent until proven guilty? It's actually the other way around with most traffic offences, Mitri said. So in this case, you've assumed that you've done the wrong thing based on the fact that the camera snapped you and the camera thought you were doing the wrong thing. Frank's fine was later cancelled without explanation, and he is no longer required to appear in court, according to A Current Affair. So again, once again, a very clear example of how these cameras get it wrong. Now, I've said this many, many times before, whether they're red light cameras, seatbelt cameras, mobile phone cameras, or of course, especially speed cameras, they all make mistakes and they make them all the time. Now, of course, one of the simplest ways to successfully challenge any of those fines is, of course, to challenge the validity of the photo itself and get that knocked out by using that MD5 algorithm argument, which is, of course, explained in detail in that Aussie Speeding Fines book in Chapter 6. Now, if you turn to page 46 in Chapter 6, you can see there all of the very, very detailed references to the MD5 algorithm. It explains exactly what it is, how to look it up, links to look it up, where to find it, how to understand the ins and outs of this MD5 algorithm, how it affects photos, and how you can use that algorithm to have a photo dismissed or rejected as evidence. Now, obviously, once the photo is rejected as evidence, then the prosecution's entire case falls apart because there's actually no other evidence for them to rely on. Now, in that situation, not only do you avoid the fine and, of course, the demerit points, but you also get the opportunity to ask for costs. And now you can start really sending a loud and clear message to these agencies and teaching these agencies that rely on these automated cameras, to issue fines and, and raise revenue, that it's actually going to cost them more by doing that in the long run when everyone asks for costs when these cases are dismissed. So please, if you don't yet have that Aussie Speeding Fines book, again, you'll find a link in the comments section. You'll find a link in the description of the video. Please make sure you do grab that. All right. Now, the last thing, of course, that I want to do, as I do at the end of all these videos, is to finish off with some of the latest memes to really get people thinking about what's going on at the moment. Now, the first isn't a meme as such. It's actually an article that was sent through us, or not even an article. It's a page from the Victoria Police website in regards to multiple infringements. Now, this is very, very important because I've spoken about this before, where people are issued, 2 or 3 infringement notices, but they've committed all of these offences before they've actually been notified about the first offence. So they've never been given an opportunity to change their driving behaviour. And I've explained again that with that Aussie Speeding Fines system, those multiple fines can be reduced down to just 1. And this is confirmation from Victoria Police saying Victoria Police has guidelines regarding the enforcement of multiple speed camera infringements issued to drivers detected at low speeds within certain freeway highway zones. These guidelines are being adopted to ensure that drivers are being afforded the opportunity to positively alter their driver behaviour without being penalised by multiple infringements. For the purpose of these guidelines, a low speed infringement is a speed of less than 10 kilometres per hour above the posted speed limit. The discretion to be applied to multiple low speed infringements relate to those received over a period of several days prior to the driver becoming aware of the first issued infringement. The same principles will also apply to multiple offences of driving using an unregistered vehicle subject to certain criteria. In essence, you may be eligible to have some multiple infringements that come within the guidelines withdrawn. Okay, so again, this is evidence from the Victoria Police website. You can go and look this up yourselves and confirm that. Okay, and again, this is information that the ASF guys have been putting out for many, many years now. So please, get that book before you get a fine so you know exactly how to effectively deal with it. Okay, so I have got 2 copies of this so I can hold this up and read through it so that you can see, because this is a really important point. So this is, as it says there, to put things in perspective with regards to our atmosphere. So the yellow section is nitrogen, the blue section is oxygen, the red section is argon, and the green section there is carbon dioxide, and the little tiny white dot that you can hardly make out in the upper right corner is carbon dioxide produced by human activities, while the rest of the green is naturally occurring carbon dioxide. So as it says there, Please don't tell me that we have to change our way of life and get into all kinds of hardship to minimally change what amounts to 0.0016% of the atmosphere, the human activity produced CO2. All of this carbon tax and everything else is all a great big money-making scam. Again, please make sure you're aware of it. Yes, I'm sure, again, many of you can relate to this. I'm sure many of you have been called a conspiracy theorist at times by your friends or family members. So as it says there, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a things aren't adding up and it's pretty obvious theorist. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Yes, this one I love, again, along the lines of the conspiracy theories. I'm sure many of you have been accused of wearing a tinfoil hat. And here's a lovely picture when your tinfoil hat turns into, in fact, a crown of knowledge. And we hope many of you are wearing those after watching our videos and coming to our events and reading our books and listening to our radio shows and understanding things a lot better. And the last one I'm going to finish off definitely makes me smile and hopefully enjoy it. There's good old Kermit the Muppet there, and as he says, how many more memes until enlightenment happens? Just asking for a friend. So many of these memes, we get comments from people who say they really do enjoy those. So hopefully we'll keep sharing them on these videos. So I am going to leave things there for tonight. As always, I do urge you to make use of all of the various resources. Of course, all the information that's completely free on our website, on the other websites that we mention, these videos, which of course completely free to watch. You'll find all of the other videos on the videos tab on our Facebook page. You'll find them also on our YouTube channel and our BitChute channel. Please use all of those resources to get informed, get fired up and get proactive. We do need that now this year more than ever. Now, important heads up that I am going away for just over a week on Monday. I'm going to be away, out of communication, no phone, no reception, no internet, no nothing. So there's going to be no radio show next Tuesday, and there's going to be no live video update next Thursday or next Sunday. Now, I will do my best, fingers crossed, to squeeze in a video update this coming Sunday night. As I said, I've got a lot to try and prepare before I head off on Monday. So I will do that if I can. Now, if for some reason I can't, please be aware that the next live video update will be in 2 weeks from today. So please don't panic if you don't see any video updates over the next week or so. Now, just on that point, so this little break for me is really the perfect time for all of you out there to really utilize that time that you're not watching, videos or tuning into the radio show to actually study and research some of these many, many important topics that we've covered on all of the past video updates and the radio shows. And of course, the best way to do that is through things like our book, which I mentioned before, the Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding Your Rights, that Aussie Speeding Fines book, as I've mentioned many, many times before, perfect for challenging all manner of unjust and unlawful fines. Of course, that Bank Secrets book as well. We know a lot of people really are struggling financially at the moment, so please stop throwing good money after bad. Okay, these unsecured loans, the credit cards, the personal loans, when they can be very easily discharged, written off, wiped out, whatever you want to call it, with their tried, tested, and proven 4-step process. Now, of course, you can get these all individually. There's links in the description. There'll be links in the comments section of this video. You can, of course, get them as part of the combo pack as well. You do save a little bit of money by getting that combo pack with all 3 together. You get our bonus Know Your Rights tote bag included as a little extra, no charge at all for that. Great for carrying around the shopping. Don't forget, we do still have our Know Your Rights caps and beanies available. So if you're out and about, you want to protect your head, a great way to meet like-minded people. They see the logo, they come up and have a chat. So don't forget those. And of course, most importantly, that home study course. Okay, it is an amazing resource tool that you will come back to again and again, year after year after year. It is a complete recording of one of our 2.5-day live events. It's recorded over 17 DVDs. We've got 3 custom-made workbooks with spaces to write your notes next to every single slide from every single presentation. pause, rewind, fast forward in the comfort of your own home at your own pace. So again, you'll find links in the description and the comments to grab that. So as I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be able to chat to you all at least briefly on Sunday night. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Take care and good night.